Hello, in this video, we're going to be talking about a misconception around time. Now, we want you to think about, are your students making mathematical mistakes or do they have misconceptions around the topic of time? But first, let's talk about the difference between the two. Okay, so with a misconception, that happens naturally as students are building their own understanding and reasoning. This misconception makes sense to the student because it's based on their understanding. Now, a mistake is quite different. A mistake is when a student either misremembers or misunderstood factual knowledge. Now, this often shows up when a student is trying to follow a rule or a procedure that they don't necessarily understand. Now, in this video, we're going to show you one misconception that we see students have regarding time. Now, one misconception that you probably see around elapsed time is that students struggle with finding elapsed time over the hour or crossing over the hour mark. For instance, let's say that time starts at 1:45 and ends at 3:15. Students might mistakenly think that the elapsed time between the two is 30 minutes because they see the 45 and they see the 15. So thinking 45 to 15, but without considering that an hour has passed. So this confusion often comes up because students are not understanding that time is cyclical, right, on a clock, but can be expanded into a linear form. Now, something that we can do to help with this misconception is that we can provide students with number lines so they can look at time in that way. We still want them to see the circular nature of a clock, but we can also put it in a linear form as well. And there are great math tools such as this that students can use. Now, as far as addressing time past the hour over an hour mark, we can have students break up the time into intervals. So for example, let's say our time started with 1:45. Okay, then they know that 15 minutes later is 2 o'clock. And then the next chunk or the next interval could be from 2 to 3 o'clock, and so on and so on. Now, something else that helps with this is using context that can help students, as well as even color coding some of the visual aids that you provide for them, like a number line, to help students see the separation between segments. All right, so that was one example of a misconception that students have around time. Now let's hear from you. What is a misconception, not a mistake, but a misconception that you've seen your students have around time? Leave us a comment to let us know.